Good morning and welcome to Mornings with Luann and Tim. It's Tuesday and it's cold.
How cold did you say it got to?
-21.
It wasn't that when I came to work.
Oh my gosh, it was so chilly. Like that cold where it's crunchy.
Oh, I hate that cold. When your nose hairs crunch.
Yeah, they just go.
Well, speaking of nose hairs, how's my mustache?
Oh, it's so thick.
Okay, it's Movember. I'm growing a mustache. If you want to pledge me, go to Movember.com and then it'll take you to the Canadian site and then you can look for me, Timothy Murphy, and I have a thing there and you can pledge me to grow my mustache for November for men's testicular and whatever, testicular cancer and prostate cancer and also just general wellness and mental health.
So pledge him, please, because he's working so hard. He sits at his desk most of the day and goes, trying to
make it grow. Well, not all of us can grow a mustache as fast as you.
Well, you know what? Though I shave every day, so I forgot it was November.
I know.
I didn't want to cut your grass.
Also, a little reminder that we're going to do a giveaway those 3 tickets for the singer-songwriter series. Watch the show on Friday morning. Tell me what the name of the song that Nicholas Luck performs by email by noon on Friday, and you can win 3 tickets to go and see Singer-Songwriter Sunday series at Case's Music. Okay.
And your email is?
Timothy@superiormedia.ca or newsroom@superiormedia.ca.
And also we're going to remind you that Casey's Security sponsors the show for us every morning, and we certainly appreciate it. We have a great show.
Yes, we do.
Coming up. Yeah, so thank you, Casey Security. Alex Trebek.
I heard he wept. What happened?
Well,
I read a little thing saying he got choked up. What's going on?
One of the contestants actually said after his answer, "We love you, Alex." Because just prior to the taping of the show, Alex told the contestants that he has to go back into treatment for his pancreatic cancer. So he was totally thrown off by this guy and took a moment, and he had to take a moment to collect himself and
they left it in.
Yeah, and he said that's very kind. Thank you very much. So the struggle continues for Alex.
Oh, look there. Oh my gosh, he wrote it on his thing.
Yeah.
He wrote it on his little board.
Yeah.
And it choked Alex.
What is "We love you, Alex"?
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that awesome? Yeah, very nice.
I guess they had the People's Choice Awards recently. I didn't watch them. And I guess the Kardashians won.
Of course they did.
They won for the People's Choice Reality Show Award, 2019 Best Reality Show.
There's nothing real about any of them. How could it be a reality show?
So going up to accept, we had Mother Chris and daughters Kim, Courtney, and Chloe. Okay? So they all go up, all with the K's, and they all go up to accept. But I guess after they announced that the family won for the show, shuffling chairs, moving around, that's when the voiceover guy, announces that Chloe individually won the award, People's Choice, for Reality Star 2019.
Which is huge, considering she's got all those K's around her.
But guess what? In the auditorium, you couldn't hear that. They didn't, and it was the shuffling and the applause and stuff. So they arrive at the stage, right? And only Kim and Mother Chris spoke to accept on behalf of the family for the Reality Show of the Year award. They all sat down again. Backlash. The fans were angry. People feel entitled, right? They got really angry with Chloe for not thanking anybody or accepting her award on stage for winning the Reality Star of the Year award. And here's an example of what people were saying to her. We ain't this is how I read my text. I can't read it right, so I'm just going to read it like it's written. We ain't voting next year if you just gone stand up there and not say she. She got a lot of that kind of stuff.
She did.
So now she has to go back and apologize and say, I didn't know that I won. And
did she not get the award?
They don't let them go back up and make another speech.
No, but I mean, when they were presenting the one
or something? I didn't watch it.
If they announced it, they should have given her the award, no?
You are asking me questions I cannot answer.
But even if she would not have been prepared, she might have been able to at least say, oh my gosh, I had no idea.
What's this for?
So much.
Oh, I won this too.
Right?
Didn't see it.
There was a mix-up there.
I just think people can be so hard on people.
Leave the K's alone.
Yes.
What did they ever ever do to you?
Exactly.
Seriously,
Except
you don't
become
be. You don't.
billionaires.
I know. Be vote no next year. Well, then don't vote next year. Maybe you want to get yourself a life or something.
On happier notes on reality shows, Sean Spicer got voted off Dancing with the Stars.
Well, did that take a minute or what?
If he made it to the quarterfinals, I was going to...
Carrie Ann Inaba was so fed up. That's why I don't watch the show. It's got nothing to do with how well they're progressing through their experience of becoming a dancer. It's all about a popularity contest.
Do you know who tweeted before the show? Donald Trump. The President of the United States tweeted to vote for Sean Spicer on Dancing with the Stars. And then Donald Trump Jr. tweeting it all out, trying to get there. And Donald Trump Jr. saying, how the Democrats expect to win 2020 if they can't even get Sean Spicer booted off Dancing with the Stars. So anyway, that
comparing
was the end.
the country of the United States of America to
a reality dance show.
Stupid reality.
It's not stupid.
It's stupid.
Anyway, the good news is he's gone, and the greater news is that once again, whoever Donald Trump stands behind loses. So there you go. And so it was a really good day all around because we got rid of Sean Spicer and Don Cherry. Okay, I'm not a fan of Don Cherry. Never was. He yells, he's loud, he's obnoxious, he's a brute, and that's what I think.
You know what? It's really interesting because I was shocked, honestly. I worked for the company that he previously worked for. And I was surprised that they fired him.
Yeah.
To tell you the honest truth, he's if there's a line, he's jumping on it. He's like bouncing all over it. You know what I mean? Has been for years.
That's what you told me when I came in today.
And there's a list. Yeah, there's a list on Canadian Press of years and things that he has discussed. And you know what? I was saying earlier today, the shame of that whole situation is that maybe he wasn't wrong. Maybe people who are new to our country need to be informed as to what a poppy really means and why it's important for us as Canadians to wear one. But you know what happened? Because of the way he presented it and because of the way it's been reacted to, that's all forgotten. The poppy? Pfft, nobody's talking about the poppy. People are talking about, he said, you people. He didn't say, you immigrants, or you other slam words. You know what I mean? But it was very obvious to me, in my mind, exactly what he was doing.
It was obvious to, I think, anybody that he wasn't talking about the Irish or the Scottish.
And he's very much a veteran supporter, and I get that, and that's awesome. But a person in your position, you could have done so much more with that. Make it an educational moment.
He turned a tribute to veterans and the whole veterans issue into an immigration issue.
That's right.
And he made it divisive.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, you know, we need, as you said, we need to educate people more who come to this country about because in the United States of America, they don't wear poppies.
No.
It's a British Canadian thing.
It is, totally.
Like it's not around the world.
So maybe people just don't know, regardless of. You know what?
It's not his place to do that, to say that.
And some people who are arguing that he shouldn't have been fired, where's his freedom of speech? Well, you know what? Where's their freedom of speech? Because as immigrants to Canada, they are allowed to decide what they want to wear and what they don't want to wear.
And he had a choice.
He had a choice.
He could have gone back to apologize, and he could have made this a learning thing.
And still hasn't.
But he refused to apologize, stands by what he says, and he lost his job. So there you go. You want to be stubborn?
He did an interview like last night and said, I stand by what I said.
See you later.
You know what then? Have at it, buddy.
Have at it, buddy.
85-year-old.
Yeah.
God, it's been a minute.
People don't want to live and learn. Hey, you know what you're going to learn? You're going to learn. Sault Ste. Marie, you're going to learn. You're going to learn how to use pedestrian crosswalks. Don't get all like, oh, I don't know, what do we have? You know, okay, we have new pedestrian crossovers. I know that historically in Sault Ste. Marie, there are a number of people who don't take well to things that are new in this city. So we're going to talk about this and how to use them properly and why they're there. I've got Ray Magnan, Sergeant from the Sault Ste. Marie Police Services, and I also have Carl's here. Rupiel, I think his name is. Oh, shoot. Anyway, Carl from the city is here to talk. And then it's diabetes. Dude, she got that face there like, he did this again. He's got a guest who doesn't know his name. Carl Rupiel. It's Diabetes Month.
What is it?
It's diabetes. Stop looking at me like that. Diabetes Awareness Month. We've already gone over.
What's his name?
Diabetes. Oh, the guy. It was a girl that I interviewed. Never mind. That's coming up on the show.
What's her name?
Len has the news too.
Stay tuned.
We're gonna grow up Mustang.
celebrating our 65th anniversary, dating back to services originating in our community in 1954, which is quite some time ago. It's been a great opportunity this past year to recognize the pioneers, the stakeholders that worked tirelessly to create what we are today. I'm grateful for everything that the families 65 years ago and the people that assembled the organization have done in order for us to achieve the success that we're experiencing 65 years later.
Welcome back to Mornings with Luann and Tim. So I was close. I said Carl Rupiel is Rumiel. I was off by one letter. This is Carl Rumiel. Carl, you are one of the engineers with the city, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. So urban planning. What else do you plan besides crosswalks and stuff like that?
Capital Road reconstruction.
So you're really involved in all this, like Bay Street and all that stuff?
I thought we were talking about PXOs here.
We are. Okay, I just want to know what your job was. Yeah. Ray, you are a sergeant.
Yes.
I have an idea what you do.
I'm the traffic sergeant for the city police.
Okay, excellent. So these you call them pedestrian crossovers. We have 2 new ones installed in Sault Ste. Marie. Locations are?
We got one at Queen and Churchill going into Bellevue Park, and the other one's at Wellington Street and Boydell near Paisanos Foods.
Near Paisanos, that's our neighborhood area. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I've seen that one. Yeah. I've seen it in action. This is not new to Ontario, these pedestrian crossovers.
No, this is a standard that was put up by the province in around 2015.
Okay.
So we're a bit later than some municipalities getting them up and running.
Okay. As far as why do we use these, Ray? Why are they put in place?
Well, it's important as a pedestrian when you're crossing that you're safe. As part of my job, I investigate motor vehicle collisions involving vehicles and pedestrians, and again, we don't want to be getting hit. So your safest spot to cross is at a controlled intersection or crossover as a pedestrian.
Right.
When you want to cross.
And so there's also some redesigns going on as far as traffic lights here and there in the city. So in the future, we're probably going to be seeing more of these pedestrian crossovers as we eliminate some of these stoplights, traffic lights, and put in more pedestrian crossovers, right?
That's correct. We're planning to put in 4 this year, 2 other locations, one at Bay and Spring through a Capital Road reconstruction project, and as well as at St. George's near St. Basil's School. That's through
on the curb there?
That's correct.
So that's an example of where the traffic lights are coming out and the crossovers being put in.
Both those intersections previously will have had traffic signals.
The other one too, which was where you said?
Spring and Bay.
Oh, Spring and Bay. Right now we're all 4-way stops because with the stop signs.
Because we're under construction. Correct.
But when that gets put up again, that light, good, because there's not a lot of pedestrian activity there, but it's good. It's too far to go from one intersection to the other to cross legally, right?
That's right.
So that's another reason why it's a great thing, because it increases safety, but it also helps with traffic flow a little bit too, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so how do they work? What do we do?
So it's important when you are, as a driver of a vehicle, and a vehicle includes bicycles, payloaders, regular automobiles and vehicles as well.
Even bicycles have to stop.
Even bicycles must stop, and for the pedestrian that's crossing in a pedestrian crossover. So the lights may be flashing, which indicates, hey, there's a pedestrian here that wants to cross. As the driver of one of those vehicles, you must come to a stop.
Well, we're watching a video right now.
And if you don't come to a stop, you could face a fine of $365 and 4 demerit points off your license.
4 demerits?
Yeah, so.
Oh, and never mind, the $365 and 4 demerits, then there's the insurance. When you get 4 demerits off, your insurance is going to go whee!
The other thing that you'll know that has to happen as well is the pedestrian must be all the way across before you can go. That changed about 2 years ago in the Highway Traffic Act. So you must wait for the pedestrian to be all the way across before you proceed.
Ray, is that true when you're advancing through a crosswalk on a right-hand turn, for instance? If there's a pedestrian crossing a street and I'm making a right-hand turn and there's a pedestrian in the crosswalk, do I need to wait until that pedestrian's completely clear before I make my right-hand turn?
No, that's at an intersection with a crosswalk. You don't have to. At these pedestrian crossovers,
These pedestrian crossovers,
you do.
is the law. You must wait until they're all the way across the street.
The only exception would be with an intersection with, if there's a school crossing guard there, you must wait. So at Pine and McNabb, for example, when the school crossing guard's there, you must wait for the whole to get all the way across.
And usually the crossing guards stay there right till the kids gone. And then you have to wait till the crossing guard leaves too.
Yes.
So now I lived in Toronto for a number of years. These pedestrian crossers are everywhere, and like in the heart of downtown Toronto with a lot of traffic. We always called them look point, because what you had to do was, the idea is you push the button, the lights go, so the cars coming up go, oh, what's going on? Then you're supposed to look, and we had to point. In Toronto, you had to look, you had to point and look, and then when the car stopped, then you walked across the street, you could lower your arm. But you did not step off that curb until the cars were stopped and you had, because some cars might not see those lights. Got to make sure that they're stopped before you step off the curb, right?
Very important to get that eye contact with the driver. Does he see me? I want to cross. Be at the edge of the roadway. Let him know that you want to cross. Don't be standing back. Be at the edge of the roadway. Don't enter the roadway unless you think it's safe. You don't want to do that.
Right.
The person comes to a stop. If you don't think he's going to stop, then don't enter the roadway. Wait till the next car comes and hopefully comes to a stop and then enter.
Now, Carl, the timing on this must all be done by. There's obviously things put in place by the ministry, for the Ontario ministry, the provincial ministry. They have all these standards, right?
Yeah, so the standard is written in the Ontario Traffic Manual. There's a specific book in the Ontario Traffic Manual for pedestrian crossing facilities. So that's the standard that we've adopted is a Type B Level 2 PXO, or pedestrian crossover.
PXR.
PXO.
PXO, pedestrian crossover.
Crossover, right.
Okay, so you were talking about things like everything from the distance of the poles from the curb and the width of the things. This is all laid out for.
Yeah, so there's actually very little design on engineering's part for the city. It's everything's laid out in the traffic manual. The diagrams are they're constructed exactly as they are in the diagrams that the province has already set out for us.
So as an engineer, then, is part of your job to work with city staff, city councillors, the public, and the police to decide where these things go? Is that all part of your job as well?
For sure. There's lots of good candidate locations. We're going to look at those on a yearly basis. Every year we're trying to set aside some money through the budget to put a couple more in, right. and we'll put them in through our Capital Works program too. So roads that are being reconstructed, you may see a PXO pop up there. Right? So be prepared. Mm-hmm.
The other thing I wanted to ask was, Ray, after, let's say I've successfully crossed the street, I've stopped, I've activated the lights, I've pointed, I've made eye contact, I've made it across. Now I'm in my car and I've watched the pedestrian cross the street. The lights are still flashing, but the pedestrians are gone. Can I go?
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, you can go for sure, because the purpose lights is to let the driver know there's a pedestrian here that wants to cross. Like originally, before the lights came out, it was you said the pointing. So when there's no pointing, then you have the lights going. But once a person's across, you're good to go.
So I'm probably still going to point. Just so you know, if you see me in Sault Ste. Marie, you're probably, because I learned in Toronto to point. So look, point, cross. You'll probably still be point. I'll be the only one in Sault Ste. Marie doing this. I'm coming across now, but I don't want to get hit. Yeah. So everybody has to look out now. All the drivers have to look out. Pedestrians, make sure you do that. Make the eye contact. Don't step off the curb until. And once again, if you're a driver, the fine is
$360. That's the first fine, $365, and Florida merit points could go up to 1,000 on a second conviction.
Holy smokes! Okay, he's like, wow. All right. All right, well, Sault Ste. Marie, get ready. They're already in place. There's more to come, so watch out for those pedestrian crossovers. If anybody has any questions, who do they contact? If they're confused, or let's say if you're somebody in Sault Ste. Marie who thinks you could use one in your neighborhood, you talk to your counselor?
Sure. Yeah, you could call the City Engineering Division.
Okay.
Police. Also, the MTO has a great website. There's diagrams on there, and I just Google pedestrian crossover Ontario, and it's all the points are there.
See how I do? I bring these people on. They know everything. Ray, nice to see you again. Thanks for being here. Nice meeting you, Carl. Rumiel, not Rupiel. I'm sorry about that.
That's okay.
And we'll be back with more Mornings with Luann and Tim right after this.
This is On TV.
lighting is just as important as style.
With PowerView motorization from Hunter Douglas, you can schedule your shades to light up the room. Create privacy, or both, automatically. No hands required.
So your shades will always be in the right place at the right time in style. And it's only from Hunter Douglas.
I was at the Sioux Area Hospital Foundation Gala. Oh, it's not Sioux Area. I keep saying that. Sioux Area. It's Sioux Area Hospital.
Yes.
SH. Anyway, I was at the gala. It was really cool.
You emceed, or did the auction?
I just did the auction part. What a crowd. What a good looking crowd.
He had to talk fast. Isn't that hard to imagine?
I didn't do it like that. But anyway, I think they raised a good amount of money. But my point was, in the middle of the dinner, I was just checking my phone. And I saw a tweet from Ruth Buzzy. Remember Ruth Buzzy from Laughing? Saying, "Rest in peace, Betty White." I was like, Betty, and I told my whole table, "Betty White!"
Everybody just...
And then I found out it was a hoax. Betty White is not dead. Betty White is not dead. Who started a hoax making 97-year-old Betty White be dead? No, she didn't start it. She must have just heard it. Anyway, there was a hoax. It was a hoax.
I thought she was...
Betty White is alive and well.
Awesome.
So is Benjamin Schreiber.
Okay, good.
Benjamin Schreiber is a 66-year-old prisoner in an Iowa state prison. He was convicted of first-degree murder in 1997, and he was sentenced to life without parole. Okay. In 2015, Benjamin Schreiber developed a large kidney stone, and it caused septic poisoning.
Ooh.
Recently, he had to be resuscitated 5 times. He died 5 times over. There he is, right there. He's still alive.
He's cranky, though.
He's cranky. You know why he's cranky? Because he said, well, I died. I fulfilled my life sentence.
Oh, my
Now that I've been revived, I am being illegally imprisoned. He actually went to court and tried to get out of jail because he said, I had a life sentence and I served it. I died. It's not my fault they were able to bring me back. I should be free now. So he lost the first trial and then he appealed.
That's actually kind of clever how he put that together.
If he'd been more clever, he wouldn't have murdered somebody in the first place.
There's that.
He went to the Iowa Court of Appeal and they upheld the lower court decision saying, quote, he is either alive, in which case he must remain in prison, or he is dead, in which case this appeal is moot.
And so should he be. Moot. Just be moot.
I think that's pretty clever.
Some sad news, Alex and Hilaria Baldwin were expecting their 4th or their 5th child, and she had a miscarriage at 4 months.
Ooh, that's late.
That's in your heart now. That's oh my God.
I think it's always in your. I think it's always in your heart.
Yeah, but you've. I can't.
Well, the more I wouldn't know, but I would assume that the longer time that child is, there's more of a bond.
Well, the first trimester, of course, is a scary one. Everybody waits to tell everybody. If you're going to get morning sickness, 90% of people who get it are done morning sickness. So now you can actually enjoy and look forward to and plan. And 4 months, poor little thing.
Oh,
and Mrs. Bieber texted and wished her the best, her and her uncle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's rough. That's definitely rough.
That's so tough.
Luann,
So
do you have any
tough.
good news coming up in the news broadcast? Because that just brought the whole show right down.
No.
Well, the good news, let's say this. The good news is that they can have another child.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
And the child that they didn't have will always live in their memory and in
Absolutely.
their hearts. Okay, I just put on. Okay, what's the news is next?
The news is next.
Tell me good news and not about cold weather, please. You don't have any good news, do you?
Well,
I have good news coming up after the news, so stay with us.
Watch the news anyway.
And then we'll cheer you up later. Be right back after this.
Recently, the Government of Ontario established a $100 million affordability fund to help Ontarians who don't qualify for low-income conservation programs ease the burden of their electricity bill. Whether you rent or own your home, as long as you pay your electric bill, you could qualify. There are 3 levels of support available. The first is a home energy kit with upgrades like smart power bars and LED light bulbs. The second includes Energy Star appliances that help keep things cool during the hot summer months. The third is for electrically heated homes so that your power bills don't break the bank during those long Canadian winters. Plus, all upgrades, including installation, are completely free of charge. Visit affordabilityfund.org or call 1-855-494-FUND to find out if you qualify.
Police in Toronto say a child has suffered very serious injuries after an air conditioner fell on them from an 8th floor apartment. Constable Alex Lee says police received a call for help in the city's East End at 3:30 yesterday afternoon. Police have not yet released the child's age or gender. Lee says the child was rushed to hospital by paramedics. Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe has 3 things on his wish list when he talks with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau in a meeting set for today in Ottawa. Moe wants to see overseas oil markets opened by completing pipelines, the reworking of an equalization formula, and a 1-year hold on the federal carbon tax in Saskatchewan so that officials can reevaluate the province's climate change strategies. Moe made the demands in a statement the day after the October 21st election that returned the Liberals to power with a minority mandate and no seats in Alberta or Saskatchewan. He's reiterated them ever since as part of a new deal he says is needed with Ottawa. Moe has said actions speak louder than words if Trudeau wants to improve relations with Western Canada. Manitoba Premier Brian Paulister had his own meeting with Trudeau in Ottawa on Friday and suggested he could help broker a truce with anti-carbon tax conservative premiers such as Moe and Alberta's Jason Kenney. Talk of Western separatism has increased since the federal election, but Moe has said he believes Saskatchewan should be in a strong and united Canada. Veteran politician Bob Rae says he will return as Canada's special envoy for Myanmar to help build support for a genocide lawsuit against that country's government over its forced expulsion of more than 700,000 Rohingya Muslims. Former interim Liberal leader Rae said he has been working behind the scenes on the Rohingya issue, which included a meeting with Gambia's Justice Minister at an international conference about 10 days ago. That's where Rae received a heads up on Gambia's decision yesterday to file a genocide application against Myanmar with the International Court of Justice in The Hague on behalf of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. That's a group of 57 Muslim countries. Foreign Affairs Minister Chrystia Freeland said in a statement the move will advance accountability for the crime of genocide, which includes mass murder, systemic discrimination, hate speech, and sexual and gender-based violence. Israel killed a senior Islamic Jihad commander in Gaza early this morning in a resumption of pinpointed targeting that threatens a fierce round of cross-border violence with Palestinian militants. Minutes after the Iranian-backed group confirmed the death of Commander Baha Abu el-Ada at dawn, barrages of rockets could be heard fired towards southern Israel from Gaza. Gaza's health ministry said a man and a woman were killed in an airstrike at a house and 2 other people were wounded. The airstrike damaged half of the second and most of the third floors of a house. In a statement, the Israeli military said Abu el-Ada was responsible for recent rocket attacks against southern Israel communities, instructed by Tehran, and added that his next attack was imminent. Ferocious wildfires were burning at emergency level intensity across Australia's most populous state and into Sydney suburbs today, as authorities warned most people in their paths that there was no longer time to flee. New South Wales state is under a week-long state of emergency. That's a declaration that gives the Rural Fire Service sweeping powers to control resources and direct other government agencies in its efforts to battle fires. The worst fires today emerged in the state's northeast, where 3 people have died and more than 150 homes have been destroyed since Friday. A catastrophic fire warning was in place for Sydney, Australia's largest city. A firefighter suffered a fractured arm and ribs before the fire was rapidly contained with the aid of a jet dumping fire retardant and a helicopter dropping water. Of 85 fires burning across New South Wales, 14 were rated as emergencies and burning out of control by late afternoon, the Rural Fire Service said.
This past year, we've been celebrating our 65th anniversary, dating back to services originating in our community in 1954, which is quite some time ago. It's been a great opportunity this past year to recognize the pioneers, the stakeholders that worked tirelessly to create what we are today. I'm grateful for everything that the families 65 years ago and the people that assembled the organization have done in order for us to achieve the success that we're experiencing 65 years later.
In your home, lighting is just as important as style.
With PowerView Motorization from Hunter Douglas, you can schedule your shades to light up the room, create privacy, or both, automatically. No hands required.
So your shades will always be in the right place at the right time in style. And it's only from Hunter Douglas.
Recently, the Government of Ontario established a $100 million affordability fund to help Ontarians who don't qualify for low-income conservation programs ease the burden of their electricity bill. Whether you rent or own your home, as long as you pay your electric bill, you could qualify. There are 3 levels of support available. The first is a home energy kit with upgrades like smart power bars and LED light bulbs. The second includes Energy Star appliances that help keep things cool during the hot summer months. The third is for electrically heated homes so that your power bills don't break the bank during those long Canadian winters. Plus, all upgrades, including installation, are completely free of charge. Visit affordabilityfund.org or call 1-855-494-FUND to find out if you qualify.
That's good.
So we were just talking about Khloe Kardashian and how she inadvertently didn't say thank you for receiving the Best Actress
Best reality performer. Something like that.
She's herself.
That's reality
But
star.
anyway, at the People's Choice Awards, well, her ex, remember him, Lamar Odom? She had the baby with him? Yeah, huge. He went into rehab. He got caught at the strip joint, like DOA just about. Yeah, so he's now engaged to a girl named Sabrina Parr, and you want to see a ring. Oh, my word.
Is he basketball?
Yes. I can't even.
Huge?
Probably 1,400 carats. She was like this. Oh. Yeah. And he said, I'm sick and tired of talking about my exes, Khloe Kardashian and Taraji P. Henson. I'm moving on.
Wonder how long this one will last. She got the ring. Keep the ring. Keep the ring. If he leaves you, take the ring, take the stone, swallow it. He won't dig through poop for a diamond.
Seems like you've been there.
Do you think you can catch a cold from going outside with wet hair?
Well, I was told my whole life I could, but no, I don't.
Lie, you cannot. Do you think you can catch a cold by going outside with no coat?
No.
Correct. You catch a cold through a virus.
Okay.
How do you avoid getting the virus?
So why do you need to wear a coat then?
So you stay warm. Well, you can get hypothermia. That's not
Right.
that's not how you catch a cold. You catch a cold
But that
through...
weakens your system, then it makes you more susceptible to the virus, maybe?
You'd have to have the virus around, and most cold viruses are found indoors. They don't survive outdoors so well.
So go outside in January naked. You won't get sick. Ever.
You might get arrested.
Yeah.
Okay, so the reason I'm asking you all these things is because it's that time of the year. Colds, flus, get your flu shot.
I got mine on Sunday.
And today, did you already?
I
Good
did,
for you.
yes.
You know, you can go to your pharmacist to get a flu
it's so
shot.
easy.
Algoma Public Health has flu clinics. And it's World Pneumonia Day, just to let you know that the World Health Organization wants to raise awareness about pneumonia and about cause and prevention. So, you know, if you have a cold that's getting worse, don't hesitate. If you feel like your lungs are infected, you might need a medication, because pneumonia can get very serious. And I did not know that there are pneumonia vaccines.
I didn't either.
Now, I would love someone to tell me about this, because it says here here's what's recommended: 4 shots at 2 months, at 4 months, at 6 months, and a booster between 12 and 15 months if you have a baby.
Of age.
Of age, yeah. 2 months of age, 4 months of age, 6 months of age, and between 12 and 15 there's a booster shot.
So we're wondering, is it already incorporated in the vaccines that they're getting?
It's called PCV13. That's for kids. And then when you're 65 or older, there's one called PPS V23. 2 shots that'll last the rest of your life.
65 and older, as if you can remember PPS.
Well, no, you just say you want the pneumonia vaccine,
Well,
so you should go and get that. But it's only effective for 60 to 80% effectiveness. That's pretty good. So I don't know.
I would try.
I don't know. I'd like more information about. Do you have information about the pneumonia vaccine? Please share it with me.
Timothy.
Or do Facebook Live, or tell Algoma Public Health we want to hear from them. Okay, bye.
Yes. Okay, bye. What's coming up now?
Diabetes with either I think her name was Joanne or Jennifer. Does that help? Anyway, it's a really good interview. I learned a lot about diabetes because I didn't know.
Except her name.
Well, watch. When we come back, we'll tell you who she was. Okay.
Recently, the Government of Ontario established a $100 million affordability fund to help Ontarians who don't qualify for low-income conservation programs ease the burden of their electricity bill. Whether you rent or own your home, as long as you pay your electric bill, you could qualify. There are 3 levels of support available. The first is a home energy kit with upgrades like smart power bars and LED light bulbs. The second includes Energy Star appliances that help keep things cool during the hot summer months. The third is for electrically heated homes so that your power bills don't break the bank during those long Canadian winters. Plus, all upgrades, including installation, are completely free of charge. Visit affordabilityfund.org or call 1-855-494-FUND to find out if you qualify.
Welcome back to Mornings with Luann and Tim. November is Diabetes Awareness Month, and the 14th of November is Diabetes Awareness Day. And so, today I'm chatting with Joanne Lewis from Diabetes Canada, who's joining me via Skype from Toronto. Good morning, Joanne. How are you?
Morning, Tim. I'm doing really well, Tim. How are you?
I'm also very well, thank you. I told you before we went to air that I don't know a lot about diabetes, to be honest. I'm aware that there's a couple of types of diabetes. I know that it involves blood and sugar. And I know that things can happen to people, like they can lose their eyesight or even lose limbs. But that's about the extent of my knowledge of diabetes. So I'm glad I'm talking to you today.
Well, I'm glad to be here.
Can you tell me a little bit about, first of all, the 2 types of diabetes?
Right. Okay. So there are 2 types of diabetes, and I think that the fact that you even know that, Tim, might put you ahead of a lot of people. Many people think that diabetes is just diabetes, but there are 2 types of diabetes. Type 1 diabetes is the one that is perhaps less common, but the one that a lot of people would confuse with the other, which is type 2. And so I'll tell you a little bit about the difference. Type 1 diabetes happens when the body can't produce any insulin at all. It's lost its capability to produce insulin, and so the only way to treat type 1 diabetes is to inject insulin, and that's done different ways, either injecting with a needle, or today a lot of people are using insulin pumps, which is a device used to deliver insulin all day just under the skin. The incidence of type 1 in Canada is about 5 to 10% of the population with diabetes. So the other 95% of people living with diabetes are actually living with type 2 diabetes. Okay. Type 2 diabetes is much more common. It's the one that most people know of in their family. They have an uncle or a mother or grandmother or somebody that they know that has diabetes. It's generally type 2 diabetes that they have, and that is where the body is usually still making insulin. It's just not using it properly or not making enough of it. Type 2 diabetes can be managed with lifestyle. Very often it's just healthy eating and exercising, especially at the beginning of type 2 diabetes when someone's newly diagnosed. Mm-hmm. Eventually, they may end up on oral medications or some type of injected medication, which may or may not include insulin. There's a number of medications available today for managing type 2 diabetes, whereas with type 1, it really is just insulin. Okay. Type 2 is the one that occurs much later in life, not much later, but normally not in youth, whereas type 1, often you'll see it happening at a much younger age.
Aha! Okay, so insulin. Here's my question. What does insulin do in our body, and why do we need it?
Okay, so insulin is produced by this little organ in our body located just around the kidneys, sort of in the back behind the stomach. It's a small organ, and its job, the pancreas, that is the organ, its job is to produce insulin, and the role of insulin is to help your body use sugar for energy. It has other roles to play as well, But initially, if you kind of want to think of insulin as the key that unlocks the door to the cells, so that sugar can actually get into the cell and then give your body the energy it needs.
Aha! Now, I remember the late Mary Tyler Moore was a diabetic. She was a huge advocate for awareness about diabetes, and also especially diabetes in youth. And so if you're type 1 diabetes, are the chances are that you were born with it?
So Mary Tyler Moore, in fact, did have type 1 diabetes. It's not something you're born with. It's something that shows up later in life. And it's much harder to predict who will develop type 1 diabetes. Type 2, it's much more genetic. It's much more likely to happen if you're of certain background, Aboriginal, Indigenous populations, people of African, Hispanic, Asian, South Asian descent. So it's much more common in those groups. Whereas type 1, it's very hard to predict who will develop type 1 diabetes.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's not something you're born with, which again is another misconception.
Yeah, I did not know that. Okay, so another question about what does it do? How can diabetes affect us? Like what other organs or I think I read on one of your charts that diabetes is a cause of strokes. Can you tell me about some of the other things that can happen to you physically if you are a diabetic?
Yeah, and I think what's really important to note here, Tim, is that it's not inevitable that you will develop any of these issues or conditions if you have diabetes. And I think the key word there is uncontrolled diabetes.
So if you don't take care of yourself and your diabetes gets out of control, it can wreak havoc.
Right, and you're more likely to develop any of these complications if your blood sugars or diabetes is not well controlled. And,
so, although it's not a given, there are things that could happen to you.
Right, and those include, as you mentioned, stroke, heart attacks, kidney disease, eye problems. It's the #1 cause of adult blindness in Canada, and then also the foot issues that you alluded to earlier.
Oh yes, some people who've had to have amputations. Is that all about circulation or what?
It is. So having high sugar in your blood for an extended period of time, and combined with high blood pressure, and a lot of people with diabetes, particularly type 2 diabetes, also have high blood pressure. And so what that causes is a lack of circulation in the smaller vessels in your body, so including your feet, which have very tiny vessels, blood vessels. So not having the circulation there can actually then cause the death of those cells, and then it just grows from there.
But as you said, a lot of this has to do with the sugar and the insulin and things like diet, exercise. So that's how it's manageable, and those things don't have to happen to you. So how do we, the other thing I wanted to ask you, on another one of your charts, it mentioned something about the connection between diabetes and mental health. Is there a connection?
Yeah, and I think mental health is actually an issue for anybody that's living with a chronic or a lifelong disease or illness, and things can sort of kind of just start to take over, and sort of a negative emotional feelings, anxiety, distress. And eventually, many people with chronic disease like diabetes do end up suffering from depression. Quite often, it's sort of, what's first? Is it the chicken or the egg? Is it a person who's more likely to develop depression also develops diabetes, or is it the diabetes that then leads to depression? We're not quite sure, but we definitely know that there is a connection.
So one of the things you just said, you're not quite sure, and I know that you're always doing work to find out more about the disease and about treatment and about cure and prevention. So obviously one of the things that Diabetes Canada funds is research, is that right?
Correct, we do. We fund about 30 different renowned researchers in Canada, clinicians, scientists, and all of them working on a different aspect of diabetes, but ranging anywhere from prevention to the management and eventually, hopefully, a cure.
And you also use funds to run camps and different programs. Do you run children's camps? Is that right?
Correct, we do. We have camps running across the country for children with type 1 diabetes. It's a fantastic opportunity for children living with type 1 to actually meet other children living with type 1. And for many children, it's the first time they've ever lived away from home or been away from home without their parents sort of hovering over them, making sure that they've taken their insulin and they're eating correctly and they're testing their blood sugar. It's a very safe environment, and it's a great opportunity for kids to start feeling a little more independent in managing their diabetes. And so we do run those every summer. Registration starts around January, but a great opportunity for kids to, like I said, meet other children, which for often it's the only other place they know, where they can meet other children living with type 1 diabetes, because it's not as common, and they often develop lifelong friends.
And I'm sure also at the camps, like through other programs you run, it's all about managing and maintaining good health, right? So the programs that you run, some of them are prevention-based programs. Is that correct?
That's right. We're currently running a program with an organization called LMC. It's a diabetes prevention program. A lot of the work that we do is also around education, not only education of people living with or affected by diabetes, but also education of healthcare providers. And so we publish clinical practice guidelines, which essentially is a guide to help family doctors, pharmacists, nurses, dietitians to help their patients better manage their diabetes. And so we're constantly looking for the latest research, updating our education so that the clinicians that are out there working with people affected by diabetes actually have the most current and best information to do their job.
And Joanne, just before we wrap up, I'd like to know, in regard to prevention, are there some just very basic tips that you can share with us that can help your average person prevent diabetes?
Yeah, so I think the very first thing, Tim, would be get checked, especially if you come from a high-risk community or group, such as I mentioned earlier, those various ethnic groups, or if it's in your family, or you're at the age of 40 and above, definitely get checked, have your blood sugar checked by your physician or a nurse practitioner or whoever you go to for your health care, and just rule out that you don't have diabetes or pre-diabetes. And pre-diabetes is a tricky one. Pre-diabetes is sort of that threshold just before your blood sugars are high enough to be called diabetes, and a lot of people are walking around with pre-diabetes, and don't even know that they have that. And not managing or taking care of pre-diabetes can actually lead to type 2 diabetes full out. And prevention means eating healthy, following Canada's guidelines for healthy eating, physical activity, about 150 minutes of physical activity a week. So that could be 30 minutes, 5 days a week, or however you want to parcel it out. And healthy eating, honestly, I think for most people know what healthy eating is. Mm-hmm. More fruits, more vegetables, more whole grains. It's just making those changes that people struggle with, is how to get to where you need to be. And I think one of the best things that people can do is to start off with small changes, as opposed to trying to change everything at once, because we know that usually
that can be
work.
A little too daunting. And then women who are pregnant, there's I guess they should be in touch with their doctors about the possible, because is that true too? You can get diabetes during pregnancy?
So gestational diabetes is the diabetes that can develop during pregnancy, and that would be what we would call the third type of diabetes, because often it shows up during pregnancy and then disappears after. However, good point though, those women do have a much higher risk of developing diabetes later in life.
Okay, and you know what? You guys have a great website. I mean, I looked at it and I got a ton of information from the little that I knew before. I learned a lot, so I'm guessing if anybody has questions, you'd recommend that they check out Diabetes Canada?
Diabetes Canada, diabetes.ca.
All right. And you know what, Joanne, I want to thank you so much for joining me this morning. I hope the audience learned a lot. I sure did. And thanks for taking the time to join me.
My pleasure. Thanks, Tim.
Okay, we'll be back with more Mornings with Luann and Tim right after this. was watching that interview with Joanne, and because of there was a delay with obviously her computer, and Mike was saying it's the signal. It's all about this.
The internet.
It's kind of like watching a Japanese film with dubbing. It's like,
right?
Sorry about that, but there's only so much we can do, control technically speaking.
Absolutely.
But I'll
tell you
what I can. Yes, it was great information.
Right?
I learned a lot.
Yeah.
And I also want to thank Casey's Security, because we wouldn't be here if it weren't for them sponsoring our show every month. Thank you very much, Daniel and Nathan, for taking care of us here at Sioux Online and on TV and around the city of Sault Ste. Marie.
And you know what? Just because we want to, we're going to be back tomorrow morning. So we hope that you join us 8 o'clock live. See you then.